What is up, everyone? What is up? Happy hump day, everybody. What's up? Scooby-Doo changed a lot, is what you say? What makes you say that, vampire? Meshtastic is so expensive, can't justify it yet. It's not that expensive. You can get Meshtastic devices for only a few dollars. You can start with, what is it, the Helltech V3. Those are like 15 bucks. And then if you add a battery, about 20. The most expensive Meshtastic devices are maybe like 100 or so. So in terms of like hobbies to tinker with, they're actually one of the lowest cost hobbies to get into. Get a cheap LoRa board and install Meshtastic on it. Yeah, you can even get LoRa boards for Raspberry Pis. There's tons of these little guys out there. In fact, I'm going to show off a couple of soon-to-be additions to the stream. Well, one addition to the stream. So, for those of you that remember the OG streams, we had a thermal printer that was printing out, you know, when people would sub, follow, throw bits and all that. We're bringing that back. I gotta set this bad boy up. I found a project that lets you do it. So we have a nicer, more improved thermal printer that won't break down like the last one. And this has an auto cutter and all of that, so it'll cut them off into pieces of paper. I will get that set up later. And then speaking of Meshtastic, I've got all the pieces here for my little Meshtastic upgrade, including a ground plane. People overlook these things. Little things you learn when you're tinkering with radios. Got a case for the LilyGo T-Beam Supreme over here. And then we've got the, this is the board I decided to go with because it's going to connect to the Raspberry Pi. The Foster. We'll check the review on stream in a little bit. And then I got a new project that I released. I haven't even made a video on it yet. So this is the T-Beam Supreme. So there's two versions of this. Well, technically, four, if I remember correctly. This is the one that has the lower end GPS, if I remember. Save myself a few bucks. I will throw that in this case, and then be able to control this guy through a Raspberry Pi. I also got a couple of batteries. Oh, they were here. Yeah, there we are. So this will have an 18650 on there. Not that it will, you know, run out or anything, but it'll keep it charged. So I'm going to charge one of these batteries. Put that in the little LilyGo device over here. And the idea is, when all is said and done, that will be a device that plugs into the Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi is going to act as a, here it is, Raspberry Pi 4, 2 gigabytes. This is kind of overkill for it. A 3B Plus would have been fine. I should have a 3B Plus running. Anyway, it's going to run over PoE in, what the hell just happened? Lost the chat. Is there a Meshtastic pager? Yes. There are Meshtastic pagers. This technically counts as one. This just has a beep on it, and then you connect it to your phone over Bluetooth. There's definitely like standalone devices, and they're relatively inexpensive. The most expensive Meshtastic device I have is about 100 bucks. So, Raspberry Pi 4, LilyGo T-Beam. I got a little 6 decibel antenna, I think this is. Yeah, 6 decibel gain LoRa antenna that's going to connect into that. And the ground plane it's going to sit on. Every time people get little antennas, they don't realize you need a ground plane. So if you are getting these little Meshtastic or other antennas like ADS-B or that, and you notice it has like a magnetic or such bottom, that's because it's expecting you to put it onto a metal surface, because you're going to need a ground plane on many different types of antennas in order to better optimize them. So we may get into that piece a little bit in a little bit. So I don't know if y'all were paying attention. I was up very late last night because for the past like week or so, I've been building a little project. I call it Typo Sniper. So this is a typo squatting domain detection suite. I was showing it off on Blue Sky. I was showing it off on Mastodon. I definitely shared it on Discord. It's open right now. It's on GitHub. But it was very late at night. We didn't complete all the documentation. There's a couple of things that I need to remove and a new thing I need to add, because I was like, I just need to get this out. What do you think of a banana pie for a VPN firewall? Just get a proper firewall. I don't know why people say VPN firewall. Just get a full-on firewall, a proper one, like pfSense. You can even get a Fortinet. You can get a Sophos. You can get whatever you get your hands on. Have that do the VPN at the edge. Yes, you can have a banana pie do a VPN, but then it's going to be behind a router, and then you're going to have to open the routing up, and then it's just at that point, yeah, just, you're going to, it's just a little bit too much at that point that if you're thinking about hosting, self-hosting a VPN, run it on a proper firewall, and then do a dynamic DNS setup, because you're probably on a residential setup, you don't have a static IP, and that IP is going to change frequently, so you're going to connect to the VPN over a DNS address. So that, and how dynamic DNS works is that, like pfSense has this capability built in, whenever the DHCP releases your IP and renews it, it'll send a keep alive to the dynamic DNS service to say, hey, mofo, this is my new address. Route yo crap here. And that's how it's going to work. Reminds me of the old Typo search engine for eBay to get a quick buck. Yeah, that can happen. Also, where are you ordering Meshtastic devices from? Rockland is one place that I hit up, and Amazon is another. Amazon's actually got a good amount of them, and I know some people are like, why order from Amazon? Well, when you consider the shipping and all of that stuff, it's about 6 half a dozen the other, and I'm impatient, and I can get stuff usually next day from Amazon. So, Scooby-Doo has changed. Okay. So, I am going to run you through this little guy over here. Probably helps if I share my screen. So this is Typo Sniper. And let me see if I can... Oh yeah, I should probably open it up over here. So it is on GitHub. You can access it in my GitHub. Here we are. I just pushed it last night. So, the issues are, some of these files, nope, not that one. Some of these files are empty. I had placeholders, but yeah. And I moved all the source code into source over here, and then the Docker version's over here. So, yeah, we got to clean that out. And then what I want to do is I also, oh yeah, I was playing with VirusTotal being built into this. So one of the problems that I have is when you look at the README, I'm still referencing VirusTotal in a few places. I need to get rid of that. The reason why is, well, it's not that VirusTotal didn't work. It didn't work for my cases because their API only allows you to make 4 lookups per minute. And when you're doing about 70 different cases of API, or not API, but 70 different, like, Typo squat domains that you have hits on, and then you want to run those through, that's, a lot of time. And, I made the README as thorough as possible. Yes, I did have an LLM help me write that. That's just too much crap for anyone to expect. In fact, what we should probably do, through the documentation, there are empty files in the root folder, and we also have VirusTotal referenced in a few areas, and we have removed it from the project. And as I showed last stream, you don't ever fully trust the LLM to do things, because I had to correct a lot of things while it was going through. For example, when I had it writing some stuff, it actually put the wrong Doppler. Like, it put, like, Doppler.env, which is a totally different project than I needed, and it was way out of date. And then the AWS Secrets Manager it put in there was also way out of date. And then, all of the files it had were way out of date, and then it's like, you need to have at least this version or higher. And I'm locking it to specific versions because of Shai-Hulud and similar compromised library incidents. So we're gonna have that guy run there, and then... Okay, so it's deleting these empty files. Now, Nope. I'm gonna have to go through thousands of commands. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show how... So this is already built in a Docker. But here's how the program actually works. I have a sample I ran last night. Hold on. We're gonna get into my source file and Typo Sniper results. So this is what it does, among many other things. So this is an example. I looked for domains that were typo squatting EFF. Not all of them are, legitimate typo squats, but some of them can be. So it makes this entire nice little HTML here as one option. Or, say you want a CSV. There's your CSV with all your data you're going to need. Okay, you don't want a CSV? That's fine. How about a JSON? You don't want a JSON? Okay. Your executives, for some reason, want an Excel file? Boom. Renders an Excel file here. Gives it an actual risk score here, too. And there you go. So the idea is threat assessment for when people go over. Do you trust VirusTotal? Do you recommend something else? VirusTotal's fine. That's actually one of the tools we use at work. Although this project is using urlscan.io. It's not that I don't trust VirusTotal, it's that their API was too limiting for me to actually use it for this project, because, as I said, they only allowed 4 lookups per minute, but they allowed 500 lookups per day, which was fine for my testing purposes. Whereas urlscan.io, I could hit the API a lot more frequently, and it was more a limitation of how many times per day you could hit it, because I'm on the free plan. And as you can see, we have a quick start here. Yes, I want you to continue. And as you can see, it's referencing virus total in here. I'm gonna have it go through and clean. But you can install Doppler in here if you want to use Secrets Manager. But, you know, if you want to run just the Python file. Oh, it's going through all the sub file. Oh, that's the README. Doppler, even an XG open, and it's as simple as if you want to Docker build it, but I don't want to. Let's see, hold on. We're not going to put the key in right now. But honestly, I like Doppler for secrets management, especially if you're developing stuff. It's just so easy to work with. Why did you not? Oh. Probably because I gotta build it. There we go. Is a directory app data test. Oh. Trying to get this running. Should probably look at my own... Oh, I reorganized everything, that's why. It's not tests. Where did I put the monitored domains? There was a sample in here somewhere. Nope, not under scripts. No. No. Did I accidentally delete it? If so, I'm gonna... No. That's the Git file. Oh, I moved it there. So... Test... Data... Test... Domains.txt. Why are you not liking my syntax today? Where? I know I ran this last night and it was running just fine. I was also half asleep, so I probably don't remember what the syntax was. Let me see. No such test data. And I'm running it at the root. Oh. I probably should read my stuff a little bit better. Alright, let's see. Why are you going through? Oh, you're going through the quick start. I'm having it clean the documentation up while we're doing this. So let me clean this. Why are you not opening a new text file and you're being difficult? Okay, so present working directory. Okay, Doppler token. Oh, that's running a Doppler token. We don't need Doppler. Okay, present working directory, and then it's going to go down into... That was what's tripping me up, was it was that single liner there, and my brain wouldn't let me compute. Tests, test data. Test underscore data. App data, test, app results. Okay, I think that should be it. Oh, right. I built you as threat intel. What was the name I gave it? Yep, threat intel. Stop drinking en route. Friends don't let friends drink en route. The problem is, I was running through this last night, and it was like the middle of the night, and I couldn't remember what I did, because I was just trying to get it going, and I looked through the code today, and I was like, I forgot to document a few things. There we go. See? Oh, I built an open source project for the past week or so. It's Typo Sniper. So the idea is it'll actually run through a domain and find typo squat domains for it. So that way, if you're on a operations team in cybersecurity, you can then put those into IOCs or IOAs, indicators of compromise, indicators of attack, into your EDR, XDR to proactively block that so that employees don't accidentally hit them from fat-fingering themselves. And then you can also hand over that information to legal, so they then can actually execute the process to have those domains taken down if they are actually trying to maliciously typo squat you. Hey, what's up, Cinty Pinky? Okay, so this command over here said you're trying to remove... Oh, you're trying to replace virus total. I have Claude inside of Copilot doing some cleanup at the same time while it's doing that. Okay, error connecting to socket. That's because I didn't put my API key in. Okay, yeah, so this is doing a bunch of replacements. It's still running in this Docker container over here. So I Dockerized the entire setup over here. Eventually, I hope to release this to Docker Hub once I'm comfortable with it. Right now, we're going to do some cleanup, and then I had some notes that I put down while I was on my lunch hour of me putting machine learning into this, because I started thinking about this, and I'm like, wait, even though we're using DNS twist, there's got to be permutations of a typo squat domain that we're not thinking about. And this is where machine learning comes into play, and LLMs actually are very weak at this. Everyone's like, hey, let's put an LLM into it. Let's, put AI in everything. And I'm gonna tell you, that is a bad idea. Not everything needs AI. Not everything needs an LLM. Sometimes machine learning is better than a large language model. Like, for example, when we get back to my streaming tool, which is, basically monitoring when I'm live on Twitch, and I eventually am going to expand it to Kick, and YouTube Live if it works with it. It's going to monitor when I'm live, and then post to... It currently works with Mastodon, but not with the original 3 platforms I mentioned. YouTube, Kick, and Twitch. And it's going to post to Blue Sky and Mastodon. I already have the Mastodon logic worked out. But what I also want to do as an option, I'm going to connect it to an LLM. We're going to start with Gemini. Eventually, I'm going to build an LLM locally once I, get some money around for that stuff. Or if I upgrade this 3070 or this 3050 over here, then I can build a poor man's LLM box, run that on the network, have the NVIDIA GPU do the processing with, like, Olama as a web UI or something. But anyway. Oh yeah, Vampire Matrix is on the to-do list for this too. I don't know. Oh yeah, you're not in that channel. I was talking to somebody else how I figured out how to put webhooks into Matrix. So I need to figure out how I want to architect that for Matrix, because I don't want to just have it like blasting everyone in the general chat. Hey, I'm live! I'll figure out something. Maybe it'll end up being that way. We'll cross that bridge once we get to it. But for now, we're working on Typo Sniper. And I actually shared this to a few of my threat intel buddies, pen tester friends, all of that. So I am looking for active feedback to this project. Like I mentioned, it's on GitHub. It's called Typo Sniper. It's under my repo. Okay? You can see, it's only been up for 19 hours. I already made myself 5 issues. These are the things I want to work on. So right now, we're doing number 1 and number 2. Number 3, that's an easy thing. We can knock that out right now. So I'm going to show you this. This is a cool little tool I use called sneak.io. If you're not familiar with it, you should be. 1 second, I'm logging in. Okay. Hold on, I got to do this. Okay. So what this does is it monitors my repos. You can attach this like Bitbucket and everything else. This is free, by the way. This is on the free plan. You can use this. And what we're going to do is we're going to have this monitor my Typo Sniper repo. Where are you? There you are. This is looking at all my repos, including the ones that I forked and everything. So we're going to take Typo Sniper, add that in, and then what it's going to do is it's going to import the entire project, and it's going to analyze all of it to see if there's any security issues. Particularly like libraries. So like I'll show you one for example. Yeah, that's an old one that I ran. If we go to Twitch Intuit, this is one of the ones we definitely have to update. You can see we got 1 critical, 3 highs, medium. Requirements is 3 highs, 11 mediums. So I want to stay on top of these. This code has been working for the most part, but I need to overall improve it. Which channel for the Matrix? I still need to figure that out. Once I get around to the Twitch automation and the GitHub automation, because I also have another project, which I haven't shared. I mean, it's shared, but I haven't shared it with y'all. There's this other project here that I also want to improve. It's a lower priority. It's called Starintude. Same concept. Whenever I star something on GitHub, it posts to Mastodon. I'm going to do the same thing. Have it post to Discord, Mastodon, Matrix, and Blue Sky. Thank you for the follow, Digital Onyx. And then we'll also have the receipt printer doing, you know, notifications for when things happen. So this is going to be happening. This is the lowest priority. So I'm going to show you... Okay, so that actually, I started that project, at least the concept of it. Yeah, I didn't do it here. Then following TikTok for all, didn't know you were on Twitch too. Yeah, I'm on Twitch. That's where you get the better stream experience. So, hold on, let me open this up. I showed you a, this was an example that we had. Shouting to the void. And this was very straightforward. This is literally just me throwing things together, just to showcase, using an LLM vibe coding, but vibe checking. And that's where I think people get things wrong all the time. Vibe coding itself isn't bad. You have to vibe check. And that's why I say it writes about 70 to 80% of my code these days, because it does an okay job, but it doesn't know how to set things up in your ultimate secure way. What I mean by that is, this built it originally when we started out, if you remember last stream, and it's like, okay, now just put your API keys here. And I'm like, no. We're going to have this run with Doppler Secrets Manager. No. We want to Dockerize this. And then it was like, oh yeah, we're going to have all these libraries here. And then, let me see, the requirements.txt. It was using old libraries, if you recall. So, double check everything the LLM does. And make sure you test it once and twice and 3 times. See, look. It would have had you, oh, this is the .env. It would have been like, yeah, .env, then call it a day. And I'm like, well, I want to Dockerize this and then maybe have the idea of I can throw this up in the cloud on maybe an AWS ECS. Maybe I'll turn this into a Kubernetes cluster, because I apparently want to overcomplicate things for this. But the idea ultimately is this is going to be using Doppler Secrets Manager. Let me see if I can actually show that, what I mean, because I think I don't even have that set up for this project yet. Yep, okay. Alright. So I have a couple of projects here. And you have an example project. So you can create different secrets inside of here. This is all junk. This is just dummy data. I mean, you can take this, like, look, Elon at localhost / Model X. This is dummy data, okay? So just imagine this were production data here. I wouldn't want that on my local machine. If somebody compromises that machine, they can see my secrets. However, what I can do is, let's see, source, fake stuff. And then I can do Doppler setup. Okay? Now I can hook this in to the example project. Which environment? So if you notice, this is mirroring that. Alright, you got dev with 2 configs for dev. Okay? You got staging and you got production. So you want to have a dev version? Cool. Now it's set up to that. Now if I can remember... Help, changelog, configs. Trying to remember the command, because I've barely used this, just so you know. Like, I've been using this... Well, I mean, I haven't barely used this. I just have barely used this recently, so I've kind of forgot how to do some of this stuff. No read. Version. Well, we'll go to their documentation. Alright, so we go to their documentation. Okay, that's to install it. That's to log in. Okay. Fetch your latest versions. Various secrets, which injects them as environment variables. Alright, so... we have this secret in the dev environment here. And we have Doppler run. Oh, I messed that up. Not dash dash run. Run dash dash command. We're just going to do a simple echo. Okay, that's the syntax. And the secret name is, we'll go with dbURL. You see that? Now let's say I want to change this URL over here. Okay. Here, we'll generate a whole new one. Give it a random value. This is the other great thing, is like, say you have your own, like, hookup to it. Or, here, what we'll do is, http lorem.ipsum I work. Okay? Save that. Save that to the dev environment. I think it's Doppler update. Nope. Okay, cool. You see how I changed the value, but I never changed anything on the system? So the cool thing about this is that you can update your secrets on the back end without having to log into the machine to rotate and manage all your keys. The other cool thing is that on the more advanced versions, you can have it manage the secrets so it can actually tie into like AWS and do all that. This is a secrets manager. We don't hard code our secrets around here, people. Maybe in testing, but even then, we shouldn't do that. How do I use Kali? I just installed it. You use the apps on Kali. You don't really use Kali. But even then, I would say ParrotOS is probably a better choice than Kali. There's tons of apps on there. What's up, Hans? Not long started a home lab, and it's an interesting. The amount of visible.env files are on Git is scary. Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know what's even more fun is if you're really bored, go through some of those projects and see how many people accidentally commit their secrets. And that is the importance of a git ignore. Okay, so this cleaned up. Oh wait, no, that's the wrong project. Yeah, we're gonna let you clean up. God, you still got a lot of cleaning to do. Okay, but this is why... Where are you? Ah, here it is. This is why we have a .git ignore. Now, you do see the .git ignore, so you shouldn't be seeing all this stuff. But as you see, I don't allow the PyCache, PyCOD, spy class, C extensions, because it'll be compiling some stuff. All this stuff gets excluded from the Git. Now, what's interesting is sometimes you want to make sure things are included. So you can put an exclamation mark in front of it to say, hey, you know, exclude results, everything in results file. I don't want you to put my data in, but anything with sample.json, CSV, XLSX, HTML, we want that. And then, of course, excluder config.yaml. So this is all the stuff you should have excluded. Maybe a little bit more, depending on your project. You can modify this to your heart's content. Now, the only reason, see, .env, my virtual environment, all of that should be excluded. Yeah, ParrotOS is definitely way better than Kali. How do I install Chrome? You download Chrome, and you install it. Okay, but that's a secrets manager in a nutshell. Now, Typo Sniper. Ooh, we have a vuln. Look at that. It did a code analysis. We have a medium, so it's not a severe one. Path traversal. So unsanitized input from a command line argument flows into open where it is used as path. This may result in a path traversal vulnerability and allow an attacker to read arbitrary files. Use of password hash with insufficient computational effort. Okay. You see, this is why we introduce code security apps. In enterprises, you may be using SNCC, But you could also very well be using things like Veracode. There are a few others out there that allow for security. How do I download more RAM? So, there is this thing. It's 100% legitimate, okay? You know, you go to this website, and it's downloadmoreram.com, okay? And then, you know, you go to download. How much RAM you want? Let's add 32 gigabytes. We're just downloading more RAM. All right, guys, we're downloading more RAM. We're connecting to the interwebs. We're retrieving all the RAM. We're almost there. It has a built-in vulnerability scanner. Is that unrelated to Doppler? No, these are two different products. This is snick.io. Sierra November Yankee Kilo India Oscar, and then you have Doppler. This is secrets management. This is code security. The only thing I haven't included into this, because we haven't gotten there yet, and I have to set up my cloud environment for it, is there's this other thing I use called Spacelift. And this is what I like to use as my CI/CD pipeline. My continuous integration and continuous development platform. So this is what I would actually, and we actually use this at work, by the way. I tie this in with Terraform, though personally I've been switching over to OpenTofu, because OpenTofu is completely open source. Terraform switched over their licensing. A lot of us at work have actually been switching over to it. And the advantage of this is that if you've ever dealt with Terraforms, if you're not familiar with this is infrastructure as code. So the idea being, you aren't logging in to AWS, DigitalOcean, Linode, Azure, any of those, and manually doing the steps to say, I want, like AWS, I want to set up this EC2. We need to set these blocks. I want to give it this policy and everything. And you're clicking through it manually. You create the entire infrastructure as code stack. Actually, you know what? We should actually have. Here, we'll use this fake stuff. We'll use this to just show you what I mean. Yeah, trust the authors. New. Let's just go with the Claude GPT 4.1. Make an example Terraform for AWS. Make 2 EC2s. An S3 bucket for them. Attach a policy to allow one only to be internally on AWS. The other can be allowed external access to the internet. We will need a VPC and a VPC endpoint for S3. Trying to think. That should be good enough for now. GPT 4.1 should be able to help with this. Alright, we're going to have this write it out, and then we're going to go through it. Because it'll be quicker than me writing it out. So the main idea is, you don't have to name your Terraform files any specific format, just so you're aware. Whatever Terraforms are there in .tf, and this applies to OpenTofu as well, it'll aggregate all of them together as one deployment. So I recommend splitting them out like it did into readable things. So right here, I actually normally call this providers. It called it versions. I like to call this providers. The reason why, so it's bringing in HashiCorp AWS 4.0 is really old. We're on 6. And then this brings in random. These two things it depends on. So this will tell it to actually interface with AWS. Right here. It'll output your, these are the outputs. So when you actually deploy your Terraform, I don't have an IAC infrastructure right now. I can show you. Otherwise, I'd, do that. When this finishes, it'll tell you the bucket name, your private EC2 IP, and your public IP for it. We deploy it to Amazon region US East 1, but let's say I want to go to US East 2, because the entire internet is on US East 1 already. Stop doing that. Stop deploying everything to US East 1. That's why the internet went out the other day. Because everyone thinks of the cloud as just US East 1. Alright. It's deploying a VPC, virtual private computing, with a 10-aught, with a 16 subnet. Can you move your cam so we can see the prompts? Oh, yeah, I guess. Although the prompts aren't as important. Because, like, if you look right here, there's the prompt. Make an example Terraform, AWS, make 2 EC2s, an S3 bucket for them, attach a policy to allow one only to be internally on AWS and the other to be allowed external access to the internet. We will need a VPC and a VPC endpoint for S3. Now remember, this is a very simplified IAC. If I were running this with Spacelift, I still have to figure out how to configure it on my own network, because I haven't gone that far yet. But I've got the OICD connection to my SSO. But the idea here, we have a AWS subnet we're building. We're building our subnets over here, so these are internal to us. We want 2. We're not doing 1. We're doing 2. Okay, so we got a 10-aught 1 with a /24, 10-aught 2 with a /24. See you later, Clippy. And then this, the all aughts over here with the /aught, that's just a public. That just denotes that it's public. Now over here, this is going to make a route table association for the public association. It's going to be pulling the public ID and the table over there, which are variables. AWS security group, so we have to use a security group to lock it down. So this is only going to allow the EC2 to have public access to 22, 80, and 443 from these addresses. Alright, we're going to make this a little bit different in a second. Alright, I'm just going to show you the concept. We're not going to deploy this, but this is the concept. -1, it's going to adjust the protocol. So ingress for the private EC2, allow only internal VPC traffic. This will allow that. Here's an AMI. The AMI is like your ISO, basically. That's an Amazon Linux 2 AMI for US East 1. Each region will have a different number, so this would have to be changed to the US East 2. This is on a T2 micro. Let's say I want to make it on an M5, M5A, or an M7I. You can do that. And that's just defining for both of them, and you can make them differently. And there's your bucket. That'll be the name. It'll attach a random bucket hex ID over here. Why is it doing that? Well, an important thing to know is that S3 buckets have to be universally unique, globally unique. Meaning, it doesn't matter if you have it unique to your account's name. It has to be unique for the entire AWS bucket system. So if you have it as Timmy's bucket, no one else can call it Timmy's bucket. Make sense? And then, of course, you have your VPC endpoint here. What does this do? So what this VPC endpoint does... Well, remember we blocked that AWS EC2 out from having public internet access? How does it access the S3 bucket? Through the VPC endpoint. So it will only route through AWS traffic. That's how a lot of developers secure their apps that run in the cloud without being publicly exposed to the internet. They're in AWS on internal network that they've built, and they're only talking inside of AWS to its own resources. And you can lock it down incredibly well. This is a bucket, dear God. There's more. No! Then you have to have your identity and access management role. This is why AWS, by the way, is not as simple as people think it is. There's a lot that gets into this. Because look how much of this is just basic stuff that you have to put around it. And yeah, you do need identity access management policies. You do need all of this stuff. So we have our IAM role. This is the role, okay? It's going to assume the role here with this policy document. Assign the policy to it. This just happens to be private EC2 S3 policy. Got another policy document here. And then you have your identity and access management instance profile. And then... Why are you doing that? Okay. But that's a very basic idea of it. Now, if I wanted to deploy this, I'd have Terraform or OpenTofu. I would do an OpenTofu or Terraform init. Plan will run through. Check the, syntax and everything. Then you do an apply, and that deploys everything. But here's how a CI/CD pipeline works, because this is just if you run it off your own local machine. I got a friend into home labbing, and you'd explain to him that if he even if he thinks he could do this, he should not expose anything to the public internet. Absolutely. Agreed. Do have a serious question, actually. Tell me why when I run an Nginx instance for internal SSL local level domains, they work on my MacBook but not my Windows machine. Probably has to do with the way that it's resolving the domains inside of your Mac versus Windows machine. There's probably something that you don't... Now, again, I'm just speculating here. You might not be flagging it properly in Nginx to have the domain out there, or you might not be formatting it properly, or, well, if you're formatting it basically, something's wrong with your config. It's hard to say what without looking at it. It will probably not work on my Arch machine. Well, yeah. Because the first step that you need to do is go and touch grass. But... okay, but getting back to what I was saying. So imagine, if you will... Oh, this is still cleaning up my documentation over here. So imagine, if you will, instead of us doing a Terraform or OpenTofu, a init, plan, and apply, we actually do a CI/CD pipeline. All right? What would that entail? All right. So imagine, if you will, I have my stuff in GitHub. Maybe you have a private GitHub to do this. Maybe you're using GitLab. Maybe you're using Bitbucket. Doesn't freaking matter, okay? It's a Git repo. Essentially what you would do is you would create a webhook here, just like Snick did. You'd create a new one over here. I'm not going to do that right now. You create a new one here to go into spacelift.io. You'd set it to push things out with certain tags. So if like a git commit happens, if a comment's added or something like that, it'll then trigger a flow to then execute spacelift to push this out. And it'll actually run a Docker image, deploy all of this stuff, and hook into your infrastructure, whether it's Azure, AWS, Linode, DigitalOcean, whatnot. Now, why would you do this? Because the one thing I didn't talk about with Terraform and OpenTofu is they have what's called state management. So when you deploy that Terraform or OpenTofu file, it has a state file telling all the configs that were applied and everything like there. But let's say someone else wants to come in and they want to update something to your project. Well, if they don't have the state file, they can actually overwrite your work. So what'll happen is, instead of operating directly off of a Terraform, you're all operating off of the code base over here. So you'd push this code over here. It goes in a spacelift. It gets approved. And then they're all reading off the same state. So if you need to redeploy, anything like that. Now, the other great thing about state management this way is you can't accidentally overwrite the state, because at work we used to do this, and you can do this on AWS without a CI/CD pipeline like this, where you terraform directly into AWS. No, this is Pop OS. You can terraform this directly into AWS, Azure, Linux, DigitalOcean, and you can actually create your own Terraform state database. So what do you need to do that? Well, on AWS, we use DynamoDB and an S3 bucket. The DynamoDB creates a table. The S3 bucket keeps the state files. But it is so easy to overwrite things, and if you have drift from your code, like you go and manually do something, it's no bueno. So Spacelift helps actually manage all this. And the cool thing is, they have a free plan if you want to play with it. A free plan! So you can do a free plan with this. It'll work nicely. It is expensive, as you can see once you get into there, but like, trust me, you want a CI/CD pipeline. Makes your life a lot easier. Can you use GitHub? Probably. But I just know that this is nicer. Actually, you know, it has webhooks on the starter, so I don't think we would be using a webhook. We would probably be... I'd have to look into what the free version is, because I'm used to the webhook thing, because the webhook makes your life easier. But anyway, that's the way it works. So I have a feeling it's going to have to tie into this API key. Either way, it's free for 2 users, so if you're a startup just building, there you go. But yeah, it's totally worth it. Y'all, I use Hub. The Hub. Okay, CD, Sniper. Okay, we're replacing stuff. We're still cleaning documentation up here. Copilot's going through and cleaning this up. Because do you know how long this would take me to, 1, write this documentation, and 2, fix all the removals that I needed to do of VirusTotal out of here after I built it? We're just removing it everywhere. Like, look at this. It's removed 155 lines of code. And this is the cool thing. You can actually go through and see what it's added and removed. Yeah, so, oh, there we go. It's the same file. So you look, it removed option 2 over here, all that. I might jump in your Discord for help on the... Oh, yeah, you definitely can hop on the Discord, and we might be able to help you out. But yeah. CD, okay, lists. Okay, so we're just listing files. No py files at the root. Okay, so we're cleaning this up. Y'all, when I used to do stuff like this by hand, do you know how long it would take me to get projects done? You'd literally sit there for hours going through documentation, going like, there's a line, correct this line, do this. I just see it's replacing files and doing all that, and like here, it's doing a grep. This is just making it looking for files. Don't run things without knowing what it's doing. I just can look at it quick enough where we help better in the Matrix. Yeah, we get red-pilled over there. Not in the, toxic, tater way. Alright, so let's see. CDN's there. Echo files modified. Word count. Echo. Okay. Exchanged. Let's see when it makes that summary document, how much crap it's actually cleaned up. Okay, I have to actually have it go through and do all of that, but... I did not make another document for that? Cool. Oh, the secrets management got moved to the guides section. Oh, yeah. Don't run code that you didn't check, Windows users. Quietly leaving the room. Hold on. Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one. Okay, so, as we can see, let's check our changes. Remove the virus total API key. Cool. Remove that. Remove, and it added 15 lines, so where did you add things? Option 2, add to why did you change that? Not like many people. Maybe. That should be fine. If Mac people complain, you can correct it. Y'all are welcome to commit to this project. Okay. That's all for those removals. Removal. Set API key. So removed keys, put key. Okay, export. This is showing how, if you're testing, by the way, to export your key as a local variable. Using Doppler secrets, your VT key, yada yada yada. Running that, virus total, virus total, removing that. Rate limit considerations. If Mac people complain, I just plug a LAN cable in my ThinkPad and watch them cry. I do the same thing with every one of my laptops. The only laptop that doesn't have a RJ45 jack is my MNT Pocket Reform, but it has an IX Industrial port that can then connect to an RJ45. Why? Because IX Industrial is Ethernet, just with another physical standard. So it has an Ethernet port, just not an RJ45 port. Okay, so... Cool. Test injection. Do the thing. Do the needful. Cool. Read me. Alright. Yep. Just making sure. URL scan, Doppler, AWS. Cool. Virus total. I did build AWS Secrets Manager, Doppler Secrets Management, and local environment variable, environment, you know, export, what words, local environment variables to be exported. Here, I can just do this. I keep forgetting I can actually do that. Copilot has made my life easier to check code. Originally, when I got Copilot, it was basically nothing more than a glorified, crappy LLM that also helped me auto-complete code lines. It's morphed into a lot. For $10 a month, this is actually really useful. Risk scores of 0 to 100. Okay, we're gonna have to modify that. Check the project for any virus total in the code. We also need to modify the risk score assessment, seeing as virus total is not part of it. We're going to also add machine learning in a little bit. We're going to get to that in a little bit. I got my notes. I gotta check. Okay, removing virus total. Don't get me wrong, I like virus total. Their API was just too limiting for what I needed to do for this. On the free plan, at least. Oh, by the way, see how it found 71 Typo squat versions of this? Okay, so it removed a bunch of virus total references. Yeah, see? 4 requests per minute was the limit. So that added a lot. Whereas URL scan allowed 30 seconds per scan for 100 domains, about 50 minutes scan time. Cool. Is this only hitting on domains that actually exist and scanning those in URL scan if enabled? La. There are also some empty files at root that need to be cleaned. As well as test files at root that need to be moved appropriately and may need modification. Okay, that was the README. That was the big one. This was a quick setup API keys. Oh, that jumped through all the documents. Never mind. We'll keep all those changes. Check the project for any virus total in the code. We also need to modify the risk score assessment. So it's reading through all the files right now. You can even add that as context over here. Virus total still references in code. Exporter secrets management. Knew it. Empty test files at root. Need to check risk scoring logic. I want to get this base working. Okay, URL scan is already only searching for existing scans, not submitting new ones. Wait a minute. Shouldn't URL scans send new scans in if they are not there? So it should check, report back, and then run. How does Virus Total finance themselves? They have a paid for plan. Their API, their paid for API, actually is really nice. Here, I'll pull it up. So Virus Total makes money on people hitting their API. Okay? Here, I'll show you. Where's the pricing? They also have a bunch of different other stuff here. Yeah, so they have private scanning. Yeah, there we go. See Premium Services Overview. They have a bunch of premium services and a bunch of other things. You're just getting the surface level tool. So they've got intelligence, combine Google and Facebook, and apply it to the field of malware. Static threat indicators. So they have a bunch of different tools that you can use. You probably are not using them, but there are a lot of companies that are. They actually have a really great suite of projects. So you can even have hunting, you know, so there you are, threat hunting. You've got threat graph, so you can actually map out the relationships there between the threats, similar to like Maltego and stuff. And then, of course, you've got the good old API, which you can pay for to do a lot of the stuff. So, yeah, they make their money on different services. CD, RM-F, secrets management. Okay, cool. No, I don't have a Kubernetes thing. We're not going to need to do that. New scan. By yeah, so shouldn't URL scan send new scans in if they are not there, so it should check, report back, then run a new scan. If one doesn't already exist within a default of, let's say, 7 days since last checked. Exist, yeah. Within a default of 7 days, but that should be a configurable option if necessary. Enabled. Let's see. RM old config YAML. Test threat intel. Let's see. Scripts. Echo files. Okay. Okay, so it's going into only scans registered domains. Perfect. The URL scans correctly using the search API, not submit API, which means it only searches for existing scans and doesn't submit new ones. One more time and create a comprehensive summary, blah, 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 blah. I really like Claude, by the way. Their engine works really, really nicely to do this kind of stuff. Okay. So, we have a new modified risk scoring. So, basically, if a base registered domain is found that is there, if URL scan finds a malicious verdict, plus 30 plus 30 points, URL scan score multiplier based on a 0 to 1 score, so between 0 and 20 points. Active HTTP or HTTPS site adds another 15. Has redirects, another 5 points. If SSL certificates are found, another 10 points. And recently registered within the past 30 days, another 20 points. Recently registered within the past less than 90, another 10 points. Only scan, not using, submit. This means only reports on domains that have been... Okay, so it only reports... Good. Alright, so we're running that. Alright, we've got that going. So that's going to run through the code and everything, and then we're going to get to the machine learning part of it soon. Because I just want to make sure that it's working as intended before we get to the more interesting stuff that I actually wrote notes for earlier. Alright, let's see. What did you change? Okay, URL scan, max age days, config example, config.py, threat intelligence. You added a lot in here. Okay. So we have this behavior added. Then I want to make sure it works. Okay, so what I'm going to actually do over here, URL scan.io. Really? Oh, I forgot my firewall gets stupid sometimes. Hold on. Oh, what the hell? Hold on, what is it? Did it uninstall that? No, it didn't. It did. The hell, it removed it. To the flat hubs. Why is it running so slow? Alright, let's see. Yeah, what the hell? How did that get removed? Oh, well. That is so weird. Maybe it errored out when it did the last... I know what happened. Let me install that package. Give me a sec. Then we'll get back to it. But yeah, that's a lot of the infrastructure as code that I, was talking through a little bit earlier. Flatpak run. Okay, that is the weirdest thing. So it did that. Apparently, hold on. Frickin' hell. That's annoying. For some reason, I got a whitelist URL scan.io and I just was been lazy about it. Okay. So let me grab I'm probably going to disable this API key right after here because I got Doppler to switch this out with. Okay, so requirements.txt. Pip3 install Doppler SDK. Okay, we already have that, so we're good. Dumb question, but what Linux distro to use? That's not a dumb question. I use Pop! OS. It's made by System76. It's a really great operating system in my mind. Alright, so I'm going to go into Doppler. We're going to go to my projects. We're going to go to Sniper. We're going to go into Dev. We're going to add our first secret. And secretsmanager.py. Oh, that's not what I needed. I needed... Where's my documentation? What did I name it? Oh, that's what we call it there. Wait. It made Kubernetes? Nice. We'll have to deal with that later. Maybe I will make a Kubernetes. Format JSON. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Like quick start. Using config file, using Doppler. Okay, that installs it. Ah, that's what I thought. And then we're gonna go to my URL scan.io. I'm gonna put that in there. We're gonna put this in the dev environment. And then I'm gonna make another one for production. Production Typo Sniper. Oh, we're working on my little open source project that I put together. This is to detect typo squatted domains. Oh. Oh, that's nice. It caught the white space. Okay, so make sure I got that. We got testing. Alright, so we got my secrets in dev and production for this. Cool. So now, Doppler setup. We're going to set up the secrets manager. We're going to set it up to Typo Sniper. It's going to find the thing. Going to set it up on dev. Alright. Now what I want to do, and I'm going to do this in a new window so y'all can't see this. is cd into the source, Typo sniper, Doppler. What was that command I had before? I'm still relearning Doppler. I'm running Pop OS, yeah. Oh yeah, and when I was working with Doppler, I did make some content for them a while ago. They were really receptive to my feedback when I told them, you need to refine your documentation. This documentation is so much better than I remember it. It was kind of a pain before. Alright, Doppler run -- command equals echo, wait, \$. And what was that secret name? Nope. Okay. Oh, probably helps if I, put a space in there. Wait, what? Oh, I'm missing an M. Barely, I don't know how to spell! Bam! Cool. Alright, that's working. So, it's actually set it up in the folder. So, let's run a Doppler test with Python and then Docker. Don't expose the secret because I have people watching. So as I showed you, Doppler is super easy to set up and use versus AWS Secrets Manager. Like AWS Secrets Manager, to set that up, not only have to put the secret into AWS and have all the AWS stuff set up, you then have to log into AWS on your system and then call upon the certain thing with your ARN and everything. One sec, I want to make sure not exposing things. Okay. So, it's doing a check. So, as you see, we have the URL scan key. cd into Typo Sniper. We're going to make google.com in a temp file for Doppler test. Yeah, it's going to just confirm the test is made. Thank you for the follow, David. Thank you. Happy hacking, buddy. We're going to go in. We're going to time out for 2 minutes. Huh. Not sure why you're doing a timeout of 2 minutes. There must be a reason. Maybe not. I thought timeout would be longer. Okay, it's doing a thing. The thing is thinging. Okay, it's changing into the directory. Don't know why it keeps having to do that when it's in the directory, but I guess that's a good way to make sure. We're going to list out the results in / with a head of 5. Into Typo Sniper, running the test, Doppler, run, Python, -i, yep. Format, grep, scanning, good. You know how long this used to take me to test things out before LLMs were commonplace? Alright, run the bash command. If results... Okay, so it's pulling the Excel file, then echo Excel file generated correctly. Okay. Okay, so it's doing an API key check. Okay, so the URL scan is working with the API key. Nice. So it's generating its own little test for it. I would have probably done this a little bit differently if I did it myself, but... Got me wondering. Oh. Actually went through the little helper script that I put together. And it... Oh, that's nice. It actually removed the virus total we did earlier. That was really thorough. Man, LLMs have come so far since I started tinkering with them. And then we're going to be adding machine learning in a little bit. I just want to make sure this aspect of it works first, because we're going to add the machine learning in to find more permutations, because the idea is that it should be able to find more puny code, it should be able to work with international characters that look just like it. This will be a fun little thing. What's interesting is, I made a very, very rudimentary version of this 3 years ago. I never really put that one out publicly. It's called Domain Assassin. It was so basic compared to this project here. And it also ran synchronously, whereas this runs asynchronously. Doppler run, Python, okay. Let's get a test going. So it's going to do a Python test, then it should be able to run a Docker test for the Docker stuff. I already have dependencies, but yeah. Sure are taking a while to grab those requirements, huh, buddy? Oh, you're doing it quietly with the -Q. See, I like seeing the output. It lets me know that things are happening. But that's just me. What I'm talking about is, if you look, it's pip3 install. What the... But you have AIO files. Okay. Matrix Neo. Okay, let's check out PyPy. Is this the latest version? That might be the potential issue here. So we're looking at Matrix Neo. If you're not familiar with PyPy, this is the repo for pretty much all of the 0.25.2. Yep, I am calling upon the latest one, so it probably doesn't like that. For Matrix Neo, let's verify. That makes me wonder. Is a full-fledged laser included async IO later laser blah. So let's throw another chat with it at the same time while it's doing that. If you didn't know you can do that, Control Alt and then the new chat over here. So, yeah. AIO files. I like to do triple backticks to comment my code out. I find when you're dealing with an LLM, if you don't backtick things, sometimes it gets derpy. Windows just destroyed localhost and dual boot. Did it do that for you? Alright, so... the hell? We got ghosts! Ha! No, I think the plush just finally fell. The Plushtodon. The Mastodon mascot. Alright, Detective Pikachu. Ugh. Go right over there. And then we got the CrowdSec llama over here. There we go. Which AI are you using to help you code? GitHub Copilot? Well, GitHub Copilot is multiple LLMs. And let me make this very clear. LLM is not AI. But, with that being said, I'm using Claude 4.5 and GPT 4.1 with Copilot. It's the best for the bang for the buck when you're doing it in a home lab. I'm just being honest. So I guess I gotta do 24.1. Okay, so we're gonna downgrade that version over there. But we should also go back to our code security package. Snick.io. Snick. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm just gonna call it the flippity floppity floop for all I care. Universe will never end in an ever expanding expansion. Yeah, that's true. Alright, so let's pull up my project. Alright, we have Typo Sniper here. And... okay, so let's do the code analysis errors that it had. This is why I like to layer things on in Cyber. A lot of developers don't actually hook in code security stuff. Okay. What's the fix analysis? OS path join, return safe join. A directory traversal attack, also known as path traversal, aims to access files and directories that are stored outside the intended folder, manipulating files with dots, slash, and sequences and variations, or by using absolute paths that may be possible to access. Do you know if there is a Windows and a Linux Mint installed? If Windows accesses files and information from the Linux distro? No. Windows does not. Let me put it this way. Linux can read and write to Windows, but Windows cannot read and write to Linux. That is a limitation of Windows. That's not a limitation of Linux. That is a limitation of Windows. Because it does not have the drivers for Linux file systems. But people have built NTFS file system readers in Linux. Not that you really should be using NTFS in that, because there's a whole other slew of issues. Okay, so in the grand scheme, that's our only real concern, is that directory, that path traversal. I don't want to ignore these. Now let's grab the details. Hold on, where is it? And that is in which file? Alright. I'm gonna have that, cancel that for a second. Requirements.txt. Alright. We'll try that again. Nick was reporting. Okay, so it's scanning right now. Apparently it needed that AIO file. Why FAT32, NTFS, and other drives exist? Why can't Linux emulate Windows kernel API play AAA games? Because kernel level anti-cheat is just that. It's a kernel level anti-cheat. It is a frickin' rootkit that is malicious. I don't know why everyone is like so up in arms about like, well, you know, I have this one particular game I want to play and it requires kernel level anti-cheat. And I'm sitting here like, why the hell are you playing a game with kernel level anti-cheat? Oh, because you have that one game? Find one of the tens of thousands of other games out there. And people get upset when I say that and I'm like, dude, it's a game. Guess what is going to happen in a year or two? You're going to be playing another game. Any issues with the URL scan implementation? Okay, this was reporting a path traversal vulnerability. Now, where is this? Oh. In Typo sniper.py. Let's pop that into Was there a reason for this? Or was this just insecure coding? As Windows 10 support is ending, relatives need a new PC. One of them wants to use Linux Mint in LibreOffice, and the other wants to stick with Windows and upgrade to Windows 11 in Office. Do you know what's the best way to make the two operating systems be able to work on the same files? When you say same files, which files are you talking about? Aha! This is insecure coding. You see? You see? You don't trust LLMs. Don't trust them completely. Now, what was the change? If config raises permission denied reading. I'm waiting for this fix. In cache.py, we have it reporting use of password hash with insufficient computational effort. You know, I'm curious now. Snyk should have done some pull requests onto... No, it didn't do any pull requests. Okay. Because sometimes what it'll do, well, it only does that for libraries. It'll automatically create a pull request for updates. Did I not have that enabled, maybe? Let's run the test to make sure it didn't break anything. I don't have PyTest. The standard home user files, spreadsheets, photos, PDFs, and so on. Spreadsheets work on LibreOffice, whether it's Excel or CSV. Now, the issue is if they do advanced functions, that like Excel formulas and stuff like that, it won't work as well on LibreOffice. I will just be honest with you. But if we're just talking about, we have simple sheets to open up, then, yeah, it'll work fine. Photos, PDFs, that's built in Linux. Yeah, if it's just summon stuff, you'll be fine. To give you an example, this is an Excel file that it created, XLSX, for our Typo sniper results. It's not only creating an Excel, it's reading it. Okay? So, yeah, you'll be fine with LibreOffice. Yeah, continue to iterate. Live stream from time to time. Just want to share that I'm now using Fedora KDE. Nice! What'd you come from using? Windows? Another Linux distro? Also appreciate the lurk. If you want to get the better quality stream, by the way, Twitch is the primary platform, but I also have Kick and YouTube. Your shared partition, if yes, what format? FAT32. Windows and Linux can both read from FAT32 really easily. TikTok bans me more often than the other platforms for doing dumb things. Remember, Sikne got banned from TikTok for a couple days. Like, his account was deleted until we raised the stink because he showed arrays in PowerShell. Still on dual boot with Windows 11, but constantly using Fedora now. Nice. My advice is, if you constantly use Fedora or any other Linux, after a while, really think critically about it and maybe remove Windows off of that computer, because one day you're going to do a BIOS update. You might take a shit in the middle of that. It'll be long enough for the computer to boot back in to Windows and do an update and nuke your bootloader. Guess how I know that? Advice on crypto. Always use the strongest cryptography. That's my advice on crypto. I mean, right now, a good crypto we should be talking about is post-quantum encryption. No Windows will ever PC. Exactly. Oh, you speak French? I speak French too. So I'm having this one do a check on the threats we had before this one does a test on Doppler running. You see? 2 LLMs, 1 code. Oh, what are you doing? Oh. It's running the actual scan. So should I buy Dogecoin? Oh, you're not talking crypto. You're talking cryptocurrency. You see, on this channel, crypto means cryptography. And no, don't buy meme coins. I didn't say Pop OS is the best, point blank. I said it's the best for me. If they like Fedora, let them enjoy Fedora. I personally don't care for it because the release cycle is a little too fast. I like to operate on LTSs, long-term stable releases. You like Bazite? Just curious, because I haven't really played with it much. Why do you like Bazite? Not judging, just curious. And follow-up question, have you used any other distributions? The immutability, I can't accidentally break it. But what fun is it? But you're missing all the fun. You got drunk, you use root, you break something, you learn why I say friends don't let friends drink and root. It's fun. Hey, I'm actually checking the code. If you see, we're actually checking for vulnerabilities, and I'm using secret management. You don't learn that from an LLM. And here's the reality. I hate to admit this, but I hate to say this, but we're now getting to a point where many jobs want you to use AI, or specifically LLM, because it makes you more efficient as a coder. Now, admittedly, a lot of people make bad code because they just vibe code the way, and they're like, well, it works, and then they don't check it. That's why I say vibe coding is fine as long as you're vibe checking. And I understand what it's doing. So right now, it's changing into the directory, Python 3, it's running my Typo sniper file, trying to do an escape to see if we fix that vulnerability. Ba-bam! Can't check the code because I don't know how to code. I didn't know how to code 3 years ago. Then I used ChatGPT 3.5 with really shitty code that broke a lot of things, that taught me a lot of things. And I just kept bashing my head against the wall to learn things. I'm actually really grateful for ChatGPT 3.5 sucking as bad as it did, because it got things to a decent point where I had to figure out how things piece together. And then I learned from a few people along the way, mentors and such, how to do coding securely, modularize my code, infrastructure as code, how to terraform the code, secrets management, CI/CD pipelines. I do change priority SSD every time I boot to Windows. PC was freezing when I installed Linux, but it went away somehow. Probably did an update. My Fedora is on a separate lower capacity SSD since it was just to try Linux. Yeah, I can see that. See? Another vulnerability. In cache.py, we have it reporting use of password hash with insufficient computational effort. And I pay attention to what it's doing, because I learn things along the way. Because as soon as I saw that, I'm like, wait, we're doing an MD5? We could do better. Okay, the code is using MD5 to hash cache values. This is not a security vulnerability in this context. MD5 is using create file names for cache. In this specific use case, it's not a password. We're hashing cache keys, domain names, URLs. I was reading that! Asshole. Collision resistance isn't critical. Even if two keys have the same value, it would just result in cache collision. Speed is good here. MD5 is fast. That said, to satisfy security scanners and follow best practices, what are we doing? SHA-256! Makes sense to me! Alright, now let's test with the new algorithm. Python 3-C from pathlib, create type cache directory, test 1. Oh, so it's running this whole thing again. Okay. Pop! OS, which is a fork of Ubuntu. I like Pop! OS a little bit better. And you're running the LLM locally? No, this is GitHub Copilot. I do have an LLM that runs locally with LM Studio, but it won't run as well with this code. The reason why I like GitHub Copilot is it's only $10 a month for the pro version. You get 300 premium requests, which is like all these Claude commands that I'm doing. And then I give it an extra like $10 in case I go over for a bunch more requests. So, like, I'm gonna go to my settings over here. Usage. I have consumed 73 premium requests of my 300 and my monthly resets in 9 days. So I've literally just paid $9. Now, all of the requests that I've done this month, it's counting 68 Claude Sonnet 4.5. It's roughly, it's 4 cents per request. It's really cost affordable. Quen coded for making simple meme apps. Well, it's very good for simple apps, but this is not a simple app. Like, I'm just going to collapse these folders here. Do you see all the structure here? Like, here, just go to the GitHub that I have for this project over. This is Typo Sniper. Let's go to my repo. So let's just go to Typo Sniper over here. And just see how much code is basically in this. Using Firebase and trust the AI because I didn't know any better back then. Yeah. And I know everyone's like hating on vibe coders, but here's the reality. This is going to be the same thing that I actually told my best friend when AI was coming out, and she's a graphic designer. Great person. She's done all my graphics. Love her. I don't care what your ethical stance is about LLMs. The cat's out of the bag. Learn how to use these tools as a tool, not as a crutch, as a tool. Learn how to make your work more efficient, because if you don't, someone else will, and they will take your job. Yitz is a full-stack coder. You've seen Yitz on my stream sometimes. He also has his own TikTok. He's why I love. He, is a full-stack coder, 20 years. The job he's at, because of the pace that they're moving at, they expect him to be using the LLM to expedite and make him more efficient. But still check the quality of all that code, and that is doing it all right. The same thing is happening where I work. Where I work, we use Amazon Q. So y'all may be like, oh, you're vibe coding. Vibe coding's not bad, as long as I've said it before, you are vibe checking. Never just trust the LLM. Check it. Like we saw, it's made mistakes. I've changed libraries. We found issues. Then we go have a security check on it. We found a vulnerability. We fixed the vulnerability. I got into generative AI after messing with LLMs. That'll happen. We're about to put machine learning into this bad boy, but I wanted to fix a bunch of other issues first. This script takes a while. The little 4070 Ti, that good. I'm using a 3070. If I had the money, I would drop 4 Gs on a DGX Spark, hook that up to my local network, and then have that run a bunch of models locally. 128 gigabytes of unified memory with a petaflop of processing power. Yes, please. But what I'm probably going to end up doing instead, I want to eventually upgrade the GPU in this box over here. Well, both boxes. What card? The DGX Spark is its own thing. You installed Arch Drunk once? That'll happen. Alright, cool. We got a success. $8K? It's 4 Gs. $4,000 for a DGX Spark. But what I'm probably going to end up doing, upgrade this 3050 to a 5050. Maybe a 5070, but probably a 5050 because I don't need to update the GPU. Okay, testing results, path traversal, vulnerability critical, weak hash algorithm, false positive, replaced MD5 with SHA-256. Cat and a file, okay. I know what you're doing. Okay, so we fixed, a myriad of issues. Okay, cool. Now we got that. We're gonna run that. We're running the Doppler check. What I do might not be really compatible with those yet. Why not? It's just an NVIDIA device with 20 ARM cores. You pipe your LLM into it and do the thing. Okay. Let's see. Log back into SNCC. Was ist Dick's name? Gonna be back in about 1 hour. I may still be around then. We'll see. Okay, Typo Sniper. Let's see. What are you saying about my Dockers? Alright, current image. What are your vulnerabilities? Are you kidding me? These are all, oh no, they're not low. 9.8, 9.8, 8.8. 7.5, 7.5. Yeah, I might need a build with Alpine. But I don't want to use Python 3.15. Okay. We're gonna have to fix this. Okay, let's see. Fixed path traversal. Vuln. Fixed weak hash algorithm. Gonna test 1, 2, 3? Really? That's what you're doing? Alright. Fixed virus total mentions. I'm just writing notes over here for when I do commit this code. Have you ever been stream sniped? No, because I don't really do a lot of multiplayer games. And when I do, it's like the PvE type. Alright, so it's doing its thing. Thang is thangin'. So this Docker file has a bunch of low vulns. But when you look at each one of these, even though it's Dockerized, I don't like some of these. A lot of these are mediums. The good news is, even though they have a high score, these are not KVEs, known vulnerability exploits. That doesn't mean they can't have one. That just means there currently isn't one being exploited out in the wild. So even though it's Dockerized, which throws it in a container, I don't like that. Yeah, I'm on Twitch. Python scan is hanging. Okay, it's building Debian Trixie. I'm curious. Docker Compose YAML. Alright. Doppler testing results. But you're still... You didn't... What? Oh. Let's wait for the Docker to build. Have used EFF.org in the past as a small domain. This is Debian 13. Suggested packets. The following packages is okay. So it is installing those. Okay, it's creating that. Because you canceled the command, you schmuck. Should have waited for that to run. TikTok is not refined, Mendo. Quit speeding these lies. Quit spreading these lies. My streams are optimized for Twitch. I mean, Twitch even is going to start giving printed, alerts when things happen. 1 hour and you're still coding. Yeah. It do be like that sometimes. We're getting close. I'm building the Docker. We're testing Doppler. Alright, Docker, Alpine versus Slim. I'm curious what it says. We're gonna wait for this to build. We're not, doing your thing. Alright, now I'm curious why it's saying run Docker pull Python. Do we want the standard image? Not sure. Alpine, created with simplicity in mind, has a smaller print, different Linux-based images in core utils. Musel C. Okay, remember, Musel may be causing issues to some things. Slim. Both Debian and Ubuntu versions have Slim tagged images. As per the Docker use case, choose it when you want to reduce size image from in Slimification process mentioned. It removed docs, man pages, and extra unnecessary files. Okay, so it's got the Ubuntus and all that. Okay. Pretty basic. Jeez. Okay, that's gonna take a while to build. Let's check. Some TikToks that, my mods wanted me to check. Let me get the audio system working. Alright. That's going to take a second to build. One second. Okay, cool. What's up, Boom? We're coding a little thing over here, so I'm gonna move this over temporarily. Keep an eye on that Docker build while we react to some videos that Vampire shared with me. Alright. Okay, I see a Roomba and a dog. Really, Discord? Are you being a dick right now? Of course, Discord wants to be a dick right now. Fun. Waiting for this to download, and I don't want to interrupt the network connection because I know it's going to be the issue. Although I don't know why this Docker build is taking so long. Oh, now you decide to go rocketing through. You're on 49, 54. God damn, you're slow. That's a networking issue. I know what it is. I should probably go into my firewall and fix that issue I was talking about. Hello, Fat Finger. How are you doing today, Fat Finger? No, I'm just screwing up all your logins. You know how it is. Just a typical Wednesday. Alright. What am I looking for? DNSBL whitelist. URL scan.io. URL scan. .url scan.io. URL scan. Just adding it to the whitelist in my firewall. Ooh. What the hell? My network just went derp. I don't know what happened. The network went derp. Network went derp. I don't know what happened. The Twitch side apparently like screwed up, but I think everything else went fine. Weird. Look, man, I just stream here, okay? Siri bot. My boss told me I had a good day, so I went home. Alright, we're gonna reload my firewall rules. Curious. Not sure why urlscan.io is having issues, but yeah. Oh, you're only on that? Hold on. I'm gonna fix this. I just can't show my stream. Alright, we are back. I don't know why it crashed the stream. That's so weird. How should one start those, especially new to, Linux? Just start tinkering with it. Really? That was the issue? God damn, you're running slow. All because of a damn network issue? I saw Debian updating in a compose file. What you tinkering with? I built a tool and I released it last night, and now I'm just improving it a little because I had a few issues with it. I had to do some cleanup. I call it Typo Sniper. It's an advanced asynchronous typo squatting and domain threat intelligence scanner. Detects lookalike domains, integrates with URL scan, Doppler, and AWS Secrets Manager, modern reports, Docker ready, and security focused. So I'm testing out the Docker side of it, and then I had a couple vulnerabilities that SNCC detected in it, so we are cleaning that up. Testing Python. Okay, Doppler. It's on GitHub? Oh, I don't. It's already on GitHub. Yeah, so I was just fixing these vulns. So the vulnerabilities will be out. I mean, they'll be fixed soon. It's so weird. My firewall is for some reason not liking urlscan.io. OpenSense? No, pfSense. I don't use OpenSense because it has not all the bells and whistles that I actually want to have. Just want to check something. Let me ping this from the firewall. Alright, let's do a ping from the firewall. How long you been on Linux? I'd say about 15 years. I've been doing it since high school. What the hell? Makes sense. I used to rock pfSense, but after updating hardware, I tried to open it. It's been fun. Yeah, it can be good. It can be bad. Okay. Let's do ns lookup and dig. All right, hold on. I'm doing some troubleshooting. Wait, what the hell? Oh, I see. It's doing that. Okay. I think I have to reinstall. For some reason, my firewall is able to resolve, not resolve, URL scan.io, but when I do hop on my Proton VPN, it is. That is so freaking weird. So we're gonna try reinstalling this bad boy. All right. For some reason, the update to Proton, update broke Proton VPN. I don't know. It's weird. Okay, I'm getting errors on the, launch. Interesting. Matt, if I took over a movie theater projector and put your stream? No. Alright, let's see. Hold on. Ah. Really? You're gonna have me... I'm trying to use the, Proton VPN to get around my firewall thing. Hey! I figured it out. Okay. So we no longer need the firewall because all I had to do was whitelist. You see? I had to whitelist it in pfSense for some reason. Okay, now we can move on. Because that was gonna mess with me. Okay, so right now we are testing the Doppler run. With EFF.org. And now that we know that that's working, let's reload this. Okay. There we go. So what videos did you send me, Vampire? Let's check them now. Okay, I see a Roomba. And then I saw her face. I'm a believer. There should be sound,
hey,
shouldn't
I'm turning to the store. I'll be back in a little bit, okay?
Oh.
Let me go.
What's happening?
You can watch from the window, bud.
Okay, sometimes the, mixer, for some reason, goes silent.
Hey,
Until I
I'm
unplug it.
turning to the store. I'll be back in a little bit, okay? Come on, let me go. You can watch from the window, bud. I'll get all my dreams. Saw her.
The dog is riding a Roomba? Really? That's probably the first dog I've seen that's not scared of a Roomba.
My first Linux was Slackware. And then eventually I got back on with Canopix.
Alright. What's this?
Derek wants to try to get a home loan.
Roll for credit.
12.
Your loan application has been
Denied! Oh, don't forget your white privilege multiplier.
That makes it 19.
Approved!
That is one of the most appropriate uses of AI I can tell you. Alright. Let's see, where's the set? Okay, cool. The scan worked successfully. Cool. The Docker built.
You got text for me.
Oh, that's interesting. It's actually running through. Let me see. Dockler setup. Typer, sniper, dev. That's interesting. It didn't set it up. Okay. Why would you scan things with a mouse? Alright, I can look at that later. So here's one video I definitely wanted to look at. Amazing updates to NTFS. So we're going to take a look at that. And hold on one second. Okay, we're gonna take a bio break for a second. I gotta pee, and then we'll be right back, and then we'll check that video out while this Docker does its thing. So, be right back. 2 minutes. Okay, so it looks like The tests passed. So confirm Doppler working. Why is it giving a null score then? If they exist, shouldn't it see something? Alright, let's figure out why it's returning null while it's doing that. We're gonna check out the video. So this is Linux's new NTFS drivers. Remember what I said about Linux can read NTFS, but Windows can't read?
We're going to talk about a specific patch series that just got introduced, which is a new file system driver for the NTFS file system called NTFS Plus. Let's talk about why it matters.
I think I use NTFS Plus sometimes.
Out of this, and some of the concerns. Before we read through the introduction to this patch series, I want to talk a little bit about NTFS support on Linux. First off, what is NTFS? NTFS, also known as the NT file system, and commonly referred to as the New Technology File System, is a proprietary journaling file system developed by Microsoft in the 1990s. The reason being, it was developed to overcome scalability, security, and other limitations with FAT. NTFS adds several features that FAT and HPFS lack, including access control lists, file system encryption, transparent compression, sparse files, file system journaling, volume shadow copy, which is a feature that allows backups of systems while in use. And it is still the default file system for every Windows desktop and server operating system today. Some of the other features that aren't listed here include large volume support with 64-bit addressing and on multi-terabyte disks, alternate data streams, ADS,
I remember before then, you couldn't have larger than 4 gigabyte
and
files.
Because Windows dominates the desktop world, NTFS has become the de facto cross-platform file system, even for things like external USB devices. And if you've ever used a Windows formatted flash drive, more than likely it was NTFS. Now, you might be asking, why in the world does Linux care about NTFS if we use different file systems? Well, some of the reasons
Extended 4 is better.
Being able to mount Windows drives for file exchange. You want to make sure
ButterFS and ZFS are also better.
Writes are very stable, quick, and work well between the two. Also, you might want to rescue NTFS on Linux. Let's say
I've done that too.
You could go to a Linux computer and hook up an NTFS partition and then try to actually rescue data, or if you just want to boot Linux off of a Windows shared external disk. These are all important things that Linux users may or may not want to do. A big reason for this push here is the fact that NTFS drivers have been remaining fairly stale as of late, and not much has been developed on that front. So it's interesting to see this patch series called NTFS Plus and some of the decisions that they've made here. So that's a little background on why we might want to use NTFS. Let's read about this patch series and why this is important here to Linux. First off, introduction. The NTFS file system still remains a default file system for Windows, and the well-maintained NTFS driver in the Linux kernel.
You know what's interesting though? Microsoft has been promising a new improved file system because NTFS still fragments and there's a lot of problems with it too still. Like, seriously, if you compare NTFS to even extended 3, let alone extended 4, ZFS, ButterFS, a bunch of these other file systems we have in the Linux world and FreeBSD world and all of that, NTFS is a mess. They've been promising since Vista. In every operating system, oh, we're going to release a new file system. Oh, we're going to release a new file system. Now, there is technically a new file system now, which I think is WinFS. But it's not really used, and I've barely seen anyone use it in the wild. I remember, like, some servers use it. I could be mistaken, but yeah. So, yeah.
Enhances interoperability with Windows devices, making it easier for Linux users to work with NTFS formatted drives. Currently, NTFS support in Linux was the long-neglected NTFS Classic read-only, which has been removed from the Linux kernel, leaving the poorly maintained NTFS 3. NTFS 3 still has many problems and is poorly maintained. So users and distributions are still using the old legacy NTFS 3G drivers. So now we kind of understand why this patch series was made. Basically to replace old and stale drivers. This is really a remake of NTFS.
Yeah, they tried to
support
release
only.
WinFS since
And it's
Vista.
actually based around the old classic read-only NTFS driver in the kernel as a base. It includes a lot of goals that we're going to be going through. And again, this is important because hopefully we'll see better write support and performance out of this in a more modern maintained driver. Now, the one thing I will mention that's a little bit odd is starting from the read-only base instead of the newer driver. It's interesting that this patch series and the people behind the NTFS Plus chose to base on the old read-only classic NTFS driver, which is claimed to have cleaner code and better comments, rather than trying to start on the newer NTFS 3 driver, which already supports writes. We'll see why, but let's continue on about what is NTFS Plus. The remade NTFS called NTFS Plus is an implementation that supports write and essential requirements like IO map, no buffered head, utilities, XFS test result based on read-only classic NTFS. The old read-only NTFS code is much cleaner with extensive comments, offers readability that makes understanding NTFS easier. This is why NTFS Plus was developed on old read-only NTFS base. The target is to provide current trends, IO map, no buffer head, folio, enhanced performance, stable maintenance, and utility support, including file system check. So now we have a better understanding of why they kind of took on the read-only base instead of the newer driver. Still interesting because it makes for a rewrite of the write features pretty hard, but I assume they will reference the NTFS 3 driver for the writes. It's a good decision to make the base off of something that's very readable for other developers. It makes it more maintainable and understandable when people are trying to go through the code if you have clean written and structured code. So I don't fault them for going with the read-only classic driver as the base. Now I'm interested in some of the key features here, and I'm sure a lot of you are as well. But before we move on, if you like videos like this, make sure to subscribe below and smash that like button on the way back up. Let's talk key features of this new NTFS Plus driver. So, write support. Implement write support on classic read-only NTFS. Additionally, integrate delayed allocation to enhance write performance through multi-cluster allocation and minimize fragmentation of cluster bitmap. Which this might be a mouthful here, but just know that delayed allocation is a method to group writes together, and that just helps writing become faster and keeps files less fragmented on a disk. Switch to using IO map. Use IO map for buffered IO writes, reads, direct IO, file, extent mappings, read pages, write pages, operations. This also helps make data transfers faster and simpler when using modern, more efficient methods for managing where
because
file data
NTFS is
stored on
slow
a
as
disk.
hell
Stop
on
using bufferhead. The use of bufferhead in old
Linux.
NTFS and switch to use folio instead. As a result, config
that's
bufferhead
test driving code
option
name Longhorn
is
had
removed
WinFS
in
as the core.
kconfig also. So basically the old NTFS driver used older data structure called bufferheads to manage memory pages. Now the NTFS Plus
Why not pay
is trying
devs to come
replace
up with
these a newer
NTFS 2.0?
system called Folio,
Because they'd rather put
which
money
can
in
handle
damn
larger
recall.
chunks of data more efficiently. They're also going to remove the config bufferhead kernel configuration option because it's not gonna be
File
needed
systems
when
don't
running
matter.
programs. Public
AI that
utilities
spies on
include-
you is.
While NTFS 3G
Ooh.
includes NTFS progs as a component, it notably lacks the file system check implementation. So we have launched a new
Nice. So now we have
NTFS
file system
utility
checking
program-
capability.
project called NTFS Progs Plus. That's a mouthful. By forking from NTFS 3G after removing unnecessary NTFS fuse implementation, filesystemcheck.ntfs can be used for NTFS testing with XFS tests, as well as recovering corrupted NTFS devices. So this does let us understand how the approach is going to be. Even though that they're using the classic NTFS driver with read-only, they will be checking out the NTFS 3G driver as well, and the NTFS 3 driver implementation of things in order to port code over and make the NTFS Plus driver more compatible. And as far as this goes here, this is going to be a new tool set called NTFS Programs Plus, which will include a way to check and repair NTFS
They should
drives,
just rip off
something
Linux
that
as they
older
always do.
NTFS 3G tools did not have. This helps users who plug up an NTFS drive under
Maybe.
Linux fix damage and corrupted
But-
NTFS disks, which really hasn't
wanna
been a
check
thing in the
something.
past.
Extended for file system license. I'm trying to see what license it is. Doesn't say. To look into that. I'm curious if that's part of the reason. Might be
So,
licensing
some of the
limitations.
best news of this is the fact that NTFS Plus has performance enhancements. We're going to be going through those right now, but this is a very interesting and important driver because NTFS support under Linux remains not only stale, but underperformant. I'm very excited to see if this project will succeed because it's not the first project to say this. As we can tell, there's the classic driver, the 3G driver, the 3 driver. There's a lot of drivers here. A lot of projects that have tried to do this in the past and have failed. They just become stale. Even though it's important, even to Linux users, it just has not been a priority when it comes to development. Anyways, back to the performance here. Performance was benchmarked using IO Zone with various chunk size in a single thread write test. NTFS Plus shows approximately a 3 to 5% better performance.
Nice.
In multi-thread, 4 threads, write tests, NTFS Plus shows approximately a 35 to 110% better performance. That's quite amazing when it comes to writes. Read throughput is identical for both
Zorn is my
NTFS
distro as a
implementations.
dev.
That I would assume
I
is
use
true
Fedora,
just because
yeah,
that was
but
a
Zorn
copy
feels
over.
nice.
Write had to be rewritten. So what do we see here? For a 1 gig
I'm more
file,
of a
using different
Debian
block
or
sizes,
Ubuntu or
you can see
Pop OS
here,
guy. That's more of a
40,
personal
6,
call
4K, 16K, and 64K. Here's what happens. Basically, the
Cosmic
read speeds
is,
are the same
in
across
beta,
drivers, and you can see that here.
but
No
I'm
significant
pretty
change.
sure
But
that
when
it'll
you
be
write
ready
in
for,
one-threaded mode versus 4-threaded mode, so you're using
by
one thread
April
versus 4 threads
for
when you write,
Pop OS
you do see a
2604.
significant boost. On the left-hand side, with the NTFS Plus driver, we go 291 or 105 when we do multiple threads, and we have
We'll probably have it thrown
276
into,
versus
2604.
50 megabytes per second.
Jeez, that's
And
nice.
things seem to not necessarily scale, but things are still better when you get bigger block sizes with 325 versus 305 and 333 versus 317 on one thread, and 113 versus 78 and 114 versus basically 100. File list browsing performance, which I'm actually very interested in, becomes better as well. 12 to 14% faster gains here, and I hope it only gets better because this is some of the most frustrating parts of browsing an NTFS file system from a different operating system, including Mac OS. It takes forever to really browse through things load up. It takes a very long time. I've always had this issue across operating systems, including on Linux, but it's definitely a lot better on Linux when it comes to Mac. It's just abysmal. But regardless, I do like the file list browsing performance being enhanced either way. And then the mount time as well is significantly improved. Now we get a reason for why the performance is better compared to NTFS 3, the most modern driver for NTFS. Use IO map AOPS, delayed allocation support, optimize zero out for newly allocated clusters, optimize run list merge overhead with small chunk size, preload MFT nodes blocks, index dentry blocks to improve read adder plus stat performance, and load LCN bitmap on the background. Which this might sound like a bunch of mumbo jumbo. That's
It does.
It is. Basically, it just says NTFS Plus is faster than NTFS 3 because of newer, more efficient ways to handle data. It's reducing wasted work by using modern I/O systems, grouping writes efficiently, preloading important file information, and doing background tasks like loading disk maps so main file operations do not slow down. Also, we get stability improvements. We pass more of the XFS tests, including passing 287 instead of 218 on
Nice.
NTFS 3's driver. NTFS Plus implement validate, ID mapped mount and permission, etc., resulting in a significantly higher number of XFS tests passed.
So maybe
compared to
NTFS might be a good go between OS and
is a benchmark
you
that
can just
fails on
load on
NTFS 3
Windows and then
directory
read on
penalty
Linux.
error
I mean, you
during
could do
file
that for a while,
compilation.
but it was kind of
NTFS
iffy.
3 currently iterates directory entries by reading index blocks one by one. When entries are deleted concurrently, index block merging or entry reallocation can cause readder to skip some entries, leaving files undeleted and workloads on Bonnie++. That mix unlink and directory
go with
scans
whatever they
NTFS
want,
Plus
Mindo.
leaf chain traversal.
It works for them.
and
I like
readder
Pop
to avoid
OS.
entry
They
skip
may like
and
something
deletion.
else.
Again, another mouthful here. Just understand that the Bonnie++ test, which just checks file performance, fails to even run on NTFS 3. NTFS
Really?
uses a smarter method called leaf chain traversal, which ensures that every file is found and deleted correctly, and that helps it pass the Bonnie++ test, or actually even run the Bonnie++ test. Journaling support. NTFS 3 does not provide full journaling support, and there's a note to actually add in full journal support for NTFS Plus. Now we get a summary before the whole entire patch has been submitted on all the features and support, but I do want to talk about the community sentiment on this a little bit because people have been talking about it on Reddit as well and on other forums, so it's interesting to see what people are saying about this new NTFS Plus driver. But before we check this out, if you're ready to level up your Linux experience, check out my checklist, cheat sheet, and my map, all available with new flashcards on savvynick.com.
Might be useful for some of you.
The overall community sentiment here is cautiously optimistic, it seems. Many users are saying it's about time that we see a new driver here with stable development. There's big hopes for this. With better and faster NTFS
No,
support
Claude
on Linux,
messes up a
this will
lot.
enable
We just saw
people
me fix it,
to seamlessly
fix a few issues
dual
it left
boot and
behind.
share data with Windows. The biggest concern, of course, is
LLMs are not
this
intelligence. They're just
There's a
predictive
lot that has to
analysis
happen.
that, you know,
Working with bootloaders,
works
firmware,
most of the
how
time.
updates will be performed. And this is not the first time we've seen an NTFS driver, right? We've
and by
seen
most, I mean bigger than
3G, the
15%.
The read-only
50%.
classic. Those are just a few. So the very first comment is deja vu. How many new NTF drivers does Linux need? And how long until this one is abandoned, just like the last one, NTFS 3? So there's definitely some
I want to see this. Hold on. xkcd.com/927. How standard proliferates CAC chargers. Yeah. 14 community standards. 14, ridiculous. We need to develop one universal standard that covers everyone's use cases. Yeah. Situation. There are 15 competing standards. Okay.
and concern behind how far this one will make it, as history has shown that these NTFS drivers tend to get abandoned. We'll see how serious the devs are behind this one. Only time will tell, but let's get back into that full feature comparison summary. So this is a comparison between the NTFS Plus and NTFS 3 drivers. Write support, yes and yes. IO map support, yes and no. No buffer head, yes and no. Public utilities, yes and no. Past tests, more on NTFS Plus. ID mapped mount, yes and no. Delayed allocation, yes and no. Bonnie plus, pass and fail. And journaling, planned and inoperative, which you can just say inoperative on NTFS Plus right now as well. Anyways, it's interesting to see this with over 34,000 lines of code added with this new driver. There's a lot going on with it. Of course, we're going to expect a lot of work here to be done before it's ready for the masses. Yet it is something very exciting to see, because we might see a benefit for NTFS under Linux with this new driver, with much faster performance, more integration with native Linux utilities, better test coverage and stability, and a potential for journaling. If this all succeeds and is merged, Linux could finally see an NTFS volume almost like ext4 that's safe, stable, fast, and performant, which could be a big win for mixed operating system users and people just trying to access data on NTFS file systems. I'm excited to keep following this one as Linux continues to improve their file systems. We've seen many file systems, including ext and XFS, see huge gains, at least with the last kernel release 6.17. I have videos on those as well. I'll post a link in the description below if you like videos like this and exploring file systems. You might want to check out some of the patch series that were submitted for those two recently. Anyways, I want to know what you think in the comment section below. Are these too big of hopes? Do you have concern on how this driver will be implemented? Do we really need another NTFS driver that may or may not go stale? Again, post in the comment section below. Also, make sure to subscribe below. Smash that like button on the way back up. Catch me in a great community on Discord, and I'll catch you in another video. Thanks for watching.
So I got to get...
Okay. So, let's get Discord over here. What's this? I had to stop live streaming my police scanner. Wait, why? This is going to be interesting.
Hi, and welcome back to the Save It for Parts channel. Today I'm up here on the roof of my house to discuss a long-term project of mine which has just wrapped up. For the last 12 years or so, I have been live streaming the St. Paul police radios through this antenna here. This was actually one of my first real ham radio projects after buying this house, and I made this little antenna mount for my scanner antenna. This is an old
It's nice to have a flat roof
UHF
like that. You can do so much with
that
it.
I found somewhere. I don't even fully remember where this one came from. And this antenna worked for quite a number of years until it got water in it or froze or something happened, and this one stopped working. So I've actually moved down to this little guy, which works just as well. And I've been live streaming the police radios through one of these antennas here from my house since about 2013. But this month, this fall, it's actually all shutting down, and I have to turn off my scanner, stop live streaming, and quit this project. Now, this is not for any legal reasons. I'm not being hassled by the police or anything like that. Actually, what's happening is the St. Paul Police Department is going encrypted, so they are going to be using encrypted radios in the future, which I cannot listen to. The members of the public can no longer listen to. Scanner enthusiasts can no longer listen to. So, era of journalists, curious citizens, and police watchdog organizations listening into police activities on the radio is kind of coming to an end. And with it, my scanner antennas up here on the roof are coming to an end, because these are some of my last antennas that are still on the roof. If you'll notice in the background, most of my antenna farm has moved to the garage. All of my satellite antennas, most of my ham radio type stuff has moved over to the garage. That's still a work in progress, but this is one of the last antennas I still had here in the house, because the audio server is here in the house, the scanner lives here in the house, and I just have not moved any of this equipment. But now that everything is going encrypted and I can no longer hear the police radios with these, I'll probably be removing this antenna sled from the roof of my house. Actually, I do have one other antenna on here that's still active, this directional Ubiquiti Wi-Fi bullet. This thing is pretty old. This thing has probably been up here just as long as the scanner antenna. It is all sun faded, it's kind of worn out, but it does still work, and it's hooked up to this directional panel antenna. And that beams over to the bird coop, so I can keep an eye on the security cameras over there. And this little antenna sled is kind of fun. It's just an aluminum structure that I made out of scrap aluminum that I found at some auction, weighed down with cinder blocks. It has not blown away yet. I had an older setup. Originally, I think when I set this up on the house, it was less secure and it did blow over occasionally. And it does still have a little bit of wiggle, so if a big storm comes along, it'll wobble a bit, but it's been pretty secure for almost 12 years now. And my little Radio Shack Pro 96 scanner here has also lasted over 12 years. It has outlasted Radio Shack. It has outlasted several servers that it's been hooked up to. The Shuttle Mini PC here is my current web server.
A Shuttle Mini PC?
And audio streaming server.
It's been a while since I've seen those.
Issues, which is also part of why I'm shutting this down. But this is actually the second server set up.
That's a lot of handhelds over there. I thought I had a lot, and I got 5.
For this audio stream. The original one was a broken IBM ThinkPad with no screen. I didn't need much power or really server capacity for this. It's just a live streaming audio setup going out to radio reference using a Dark Ice script on Linux. And yeah, this old shuttle thing works well enough for that. Now, I also have the scanner piped into a little monitor speaker, so I can actually listen to what's going on if I want to listen in real time. Some other things that I have hooked up to this are a audio filter. So this is a ground loop isolator to try and keep some noise out of the system. And then everything else is just RCA cables going to a little headphone jack here. And this is the antenna wire, antenna cable going up to the roof. The Pro 96 scanner is just permanently powered from a wall jack, and it's basically been on for over 12 years, aside from the occasional power outage. And this system is on a UPS, so even power outages don't affect it as much. But yeah, basically this thing has been running for 12 years. That's pretty good for a little scanner. If Radio Shack were still around, I would recommend people buy this scanner. But unfortunately, the company wasn't as robust or long-lived as some of their products. As a little bit more background here, the St. Paul Police Department, as with most Twin Cities metro area emergency responders, uses something called the Armor.
Well, the problem is Radio Shack focused too much on trying to sell cell phones and forgot their core base. So I actually used to work at a Radio Shack. It was like one of my first jobs when I was like 18 years old. 19. I was overseas when I was 18. Anyway, and I remember part of the reason they hired me was I had a bit of a background with electronics and stuff. I knew a resistor, I knew a diode, all this. I could actually help the customers that were coming in for these little parts. Overwhelmingly, we had people come in that were asking for stuff that Radio Shack used to carry and they didn't have anymore. And I directed so many people to say, go to Micro Center, they'll have it. Go to Micro Center, they'll have it. Go to Micro Center, they'll have it. And nobody went to Radio Shack to buy a cell phone. Because when I was thinking cell phone, you have to remember, like, you go to Radio Shack, you had like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different cell phone shops within the same area. Why would anyone go to a Radio Shack for a cell phone? Radio Shack was known for computers, radios, electronics. Why was it called Radio Shack? Because radio shack, like a ham shack. Like what I got behind me. My ham shack's behind me. Which, by the way, I got to make a video on that stuff because now I got the SWR meter. So I can talk about my full setup until I actually get the computer digital side of it, and we'll get into that. And why I've been doing what I do. Anyway, but that is the big reason why Radio Shack went out of business. They focused on cell phones when cell phones were already a saturated market. Because I think you probably are in the same boat, whoever's watching. If you need a phone, you were never thinking Radio Shack. You were thinking AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, the Sprint store back in the day, which Sprint bought the Radio Shacks, by the way. Why didn't you instruct the CEO to get the loose parts? Trust me, a bunch of us did. I even straight up, said to management and all that. Yeah, and then the company eventually went under, and then yada, yada, yada. It's unfortunate. I loved Radio Shack. But really the only store left of my childhood is, Micro Center for that kind of stuff.
Trunking network. It's an acronym, I believe, standing for Allied Radio Matrix for Emergency Responders, something like that. I might be misremembering the exact acronym, but the St. Paul Police use it, Minneapolis Police, fire departments, public works, basically any local government organization is in the Armor network, and it's a statewide network, so they can intertie with state patrol, they can intertie with outlying communities, with towns out farther in Minnesota, and also I believe with some surrounding states. A lot of agencies around the US and around the world are going to digital trunking systems, or they already have, because again, this is over 12 years old. This was a fairly new system 12 to 15 years ago. Before that, a lot of agencies used regular analog radios, the kind you would use an old style radio scanner for, but a trunking radio system is a little bit more complicated because you have kind of computer assigned channels, you have multiple working channels and then a central control channel, and when you key up a radio, the computer system basically negotiates using that control channel what other channels are open. It assigns your radio and the person you're talking to
HBX?
Off onto a working channel, and it does that all dynamically. And that basically frees up a lot of the dispatcher's job. They no longer have to juggle a lot of traffic from a big police department. They no longer have to assign different channels to different cars, to different units. That all happens automatically. And the dispatcher can just focus on calling up a unit, sending out a dispatch message saying we've got a problem at such and such address, and that works for both police, for fire, even for public works. So you can have the dispatcher send out different assets to a particular problem, and the Armor system, the digital trunking system, just handles a lot of the bookkeeping back end of the actual radio system automatically. And encryption is kind of a easy option with digital trunking. It can be turned on and off at the will of the agencies. Now, a lot of agencies here in Minnesota did not use encryption for a long, long time, unless they were doing something particularly sneaky like drug enforcement, like SWAT team stuff, things that they didn't necessarily want the news media to hear about. They didn't necessarily want members of the public to hear about, because maybe a criminal could use that radio scanner to find out when the SWAT team was coming or find out when the drug enforcement bust was coming. But laws and policies change, and nowadays everything is going encrypted, not just the police department, but apparently also the fire department. And part of that is due to privacy, because you don't necessarily want to be broadcasting things like, oh, John Smith at 123 Fake Street has overdosed
makes
on
sense.
cocaine, and now if anybody is listening to the scanner, they know that John Smith uses cocaine. There's a lot of potential issues with just anybody out there being able to listen to police scanners. Now, 12 or 15 years ago, part of that was solved by just having a digital trunking system, which was harder to pick up. You couldn't hear that system easily on most consumer-grade scanners. You had to get something like the Radio Shack Pro 96, which was very
Protein
expensive.
chips.
Back when I bought it, I think this was $250. Again, that was like 15 years ago. These days, almost everything does digital trunking, and you can even do it with a couple SDRs, software-defined.
So why encrypt anything? Well, simply put, I can see the argument for the privacy side, like you said. And the only part that hurts is journalists often get these skinny on issues that are happening when they look at the police radios and stuff like that.
So it is much less security by obscurity the way it was over a decade ago.
Right.
Now, radio scanning and listening in on police radios has a pretty long history in the U.S. I have some old scanner equipment kicking around. In fact, I have one here in my little fallout shelter corner, kind of showing off what somebody might have in their fallout shelter back in the 1970s, 1960s to listen to public safety, find out information that might not be generally available on public radio stations. If you want to know the real scoop of what's happening in an emergency, you would want a police scanner in your fallout shelter, in your house, in your cabin, in your car maybe. Now, there are some rules and regulations about that. In Minnesota, for example, it is illegal to have a radio capable of receiving police communications in your car unless you have a ham license, which I do, so I can carry a portable scanner like this around. And actually, this one is too old to receive modern police radio communications. It could receive some kind of backwoods county sheriffs and whatnot, but metro area police and fire won't pick up on this because
I don't
this
think
is
my
not
city's
digital
doing that
and
yet.
not a trunking system.
I'll
This is
have to
just another
check
old
it.
Radio Shack scanner that I picked up. Actually, this
get
was
my
an Axeman
SDR. I
surplus
need to
for
find
$8.
where I put
So,
that.
yeah, you can find older scanners these days for almost nothing because they're a little less capable. They don't pick up as much of the currently active police and fire. You can still hear some stuff like airband, ham radio stuff, weather, marine stuff, but for police and fire, these are kind of outdated now. Yeah, here's another even older one I found at Axeman. I was going to do a little video on these because I keep collecting them. This one was $2.95 and it only has 4 channels. They're probably crystal controlled, much like my base station Bearcat scanner over there in the fallout shelter pile. This would use crystals like these little modules here. So if you wanted to go to a different frequency, you would have to buy different crystals.
Oh, I haven't
started
seen
the
those in a
radio
minute.
scanning hobby a long time ago. When I was a kid growing up in Alaska, we almost always had radios on in the house. We were listening to CB radio, we were listening to Marine VHF, and we would always hear Coast Guard calls. You could follow along with emergencies. And that was always really interesting, and it was a way to kind of keep informed with what was going on in the world, what was going on in our local area with weather, with emergencies, with distress situations, and sometimes we would even be able to help out.
That's
with those
why I use
distress
ham
situations
radio.
because we would be the closest
My ham radio can actually pick up CB.
ones to a vessel in distress because we lived outside of town on an island. When I went off to college, I picked up a Radio Shack desktop scanner and I would listen to that thing just all the time. I basically had that on at all times in my dorm room in college. I would listen to the campus police, the fire department, even the local military base. It was very interesting. I would also listen to the railroad. I would listen to just any agency I could get my hands on. And I would hear all kinds of interesting stuff. And occasionally I would take my bike out and go out to look at something I heard about, like a train derailment or
Interesting.
a car on fire. That was kind of interesting. Somebody had bought one of the really cheap plug-in block heaters and burned down their Jeep. I would also hear all the local
What?
emergency gossip
Oh.
on campus, like if somebody was getting arrested for trying to smuggle booze into the freshman dorm or was injured somehow. I wasn't trying to be too voyeuristic, but it was just interesting to know about that, and it felt like a way to really keep in touch with what was going on around me, what was going on in my local community, just finding out things that would maybe never get into the newspaper, or finding them out before they got into the newspaper, or in some cases finding them out and putting them into the newspaper. I have another video on my channel about a fire training situation which got a little bit out of hand on campus, and I was able to kind of be on scene and film it for both the local campus TV station and then write an article for the campus newspaper, because I was right there and I got footage of both the training scenario and the unintentional aftermath. If you're interested in that, I'll put a link to the video. It's all like early 2000s kind of potato quality footage, so it may or may not be that interesting. Now, my actual in-person scanner listening has kind of petered out over time. I just don't have time to have a scanner on all the time, but it was nice to live stream the scanner to Radio Reference, because doing so gave me kind of premium access to Radio Reference, so I could listen to my own recordings, I could listen to other people's recordings, which were very cool, and it was just cool to be able to share that information out to the wider world. Even if I wasn't personally listening to it all the time, anybody in the world could tune into my live stream and listen to what St. Paul PD, St. Paul Fire Department were up to. Now, I was running this stream, like I said, since about 2013, and some unintentional consequences came out of that. Because my stream was public, anybody could tune into it, and because mine was one of the better ones. There were a couple other people streaming St. Paul Police, but they didn't have as good of antennas or as good as scanners. Mine, for a long time, was one of the better ones, and it developed a little bit of a following.
Ever use
Apparently, there was a
mischievous radio
Facebook
devices?
group
Yes,
of
I would.
concerned citizens, which always seem to be suburban citizens complaining about crime in the city, but there was this whole Facebook group of people who would listen to my scanner and just comment on it, like, oh no, there's crime in the city, and shootings and muggings and this and that. And I always thought it was a little bit silly. I moved here from the middle of nowhere. I expected there to be crime. It's a city. All cities have crime. Suburbs have crime. The middle of nowhere even has crime where I grew up, but it was usually juvenile delinquent bears instead of humans. I started to get some kind of weird messages on the email forward from this scanner live stream. I would get people saying strange things, asking me to do things about the scanner, asking me to maintain it better, to kind of demanding actually that I maintain it better. This was completely a hobby project, completely free. I wasn't charging anybody for it. I wasn't trying to make any money from it, but people apparently had expectations about it and would hassle me to improve it, make it better, give them what they wanted, which, yeah, that could be a little bit annoying, especially when I was on vacation, and it inevitably seemed like it broke when I was on vacation, when I couldn't just run downstairs and reboot the thing. So I'd be out in California or someplace, and I would get this stream of emails saying, oh, your scanner's offline, you need to fix it, there's a crime wave, this and that. It's like, whatever, get your own scanner, guys. I even had people asking me if I could make the cops speak more clearly. It's like, no, that's not how it works, guys.
Really?
With a digital radio system like this, there is some compression, and human voices do sound a little weird. So if you're an older person listening to a scanner like this and you're familiar with an analog radio scanner, it does sound different. The voices sound a little clipped, they sound a little compressed, and that's just because the system is efficient. It's cutting out of unnecessary vocal frequencies, cutting them down to just what's necessary. Anyway, I tried not to take the public feedback about my scanner too personally. I usually just laughed it off, and that's kind of why I haven't mentioned it on the channel here before. I've thought about showing off the setup. I've thought about talking about the technical aspects of running a dark ice script and a radio reference stream and live streaming police scanner stuff, but I haven't really wanted to get into it because I didn't really want Facebook concerned suburban to know who I was, to really connect the scanner stream with me personally. You know what? Now that it's going encrypted, now that I'm shutting down the scanner system, I don't have to worry about it anymore. Now, the encryption is supposed to go into effect here this month, October of 2025. And I've actually stopped streaming already, partly because of that, partly because I did have some technical issues with that server. It went down, again, when I was out of town. I didn't have time to fix it. You know, this is going encrypted anyway. I don't have time to maintain it. It's not really worth trying to maintain it if it's not going to be useful anymore, so I give up on it. And it's a little sad to give up on a project that I've been doing for over 12 years, but stuff changes, stuff moves on, and maybe now I can do something else. Maybe I can live stream something else interesting, like satellite content. Personally, I'm a little disappointed to lose a cool radio resource like police scanners, but yeah, I understand some of the security, some of the privacy concerns. I understand some of the reasons why they're going encrypted, but I do think it's a big loss for news media, for the general public who wants to stay informed, for people who are interested in keeping an eye on the police, making sure that they're staying ethical and supporting their community instead of doing other things that certain police departments have done that are less valuable to the community. And those are all things that are going to get harder now that the general public can't listen in on as many of these police radio streams. Anyway, that's about all I had for this video. I just wanted to do a little commentary on kind of the end of an era in police scanning and just show off something that I've put a lot of effort into for the last over a decade. And maybe now that this particular project has wound down, I will have some more free time and energy to do some other project. Maybe. I always keep myself pretty busy, so we'll see what happens. Finally, as usual, thank you to everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.
22 floppy, hugest DDoS attack. Okay, so I'm still working on the little code thing, running into things. There we go. So I'm working on Doppler, trying to auto-enable it, making sure if Doppler is enabled or AWS secrets is enabled, we're going to allow for that to work. What the hell? Why did it do that? Interesting. It's trying to go through and do all the different scenarios to see if it'll work. Doppler true, AWS false, enabled true, false. Okay. So I think we got that going. Sweet. All right. Alright, I got a comprehensive final test for this before I do machine learning stuff. Got a lot of modifications we did. But yeah. Just been coding on all that for a few hours. I hope to have a new version out soon. Yep, ready to commit and to push to GitHub. So, yeah. Alright. Well, I guess it's time for me to go to sleep. So, thank you all for joining. Make sure if you haven't already that you follow me on all of my socials. Links are in bio. I'm on Twitch, I'm on Kick, I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube, and of course I am in the Discord server and the Matrix server that we have. Links are in bio for everything. Thank you all for joining. Stay safe, and happy hacking. See you around. Stick around for the raid on Twitch. I'll game maybe tomorrow. We'll see. I might be on for another stream tomorrow because I got a game, but I got work.